What is a toxic behavior that is disguised as virtue? Supporting a person to a fault. In other words, being an enabler. I had an in-law who talked constantly about how generous and compassionate she was. She could be both, but she had a tendency to get carried away by what she wanted for you rather than what you actually wanted. She was the kind of person who would throw a big party for you when you explicitly told her you didn't want a party, and she would talk constantly about how overwhelmed she was planning the party, and how you should help in all these ways because, "I can't do this on my own." Her plans were over the top impossible to actually achieve. I watched her do this with a graduation party, and a charity ball, and it was stressful for everyone involved. One of them ended in complete disaster. Doing things for others is not a virtue if they don't want your help, and you constantly ignore their input. Also, wow, this resonated with a lot of people. I am somewhat comforted. Thanks for the awards. Grand romantic gestures. I teach high school, and it's crazy how many times you see a kid basically bully their crush into being with them. They make this huge public display, and the kid is too shy to say no in front of everyone. It's embarrassing and distressing for that poor kid. The rise and grind mentality, saying if you're not working towards something you're wasting your time. It's important to take time to just relax or pursue a passion without monetary gain, but society as a whole has deemed this as wasting your time. Mom says several people on her Facebook are angry that they were told their services weren't needed when they signed up to the town's volunteer service to help folk during this crisis. We had an amazing number of people come forward. They're mad because they want to help and do their bit, and honestly she realized so many of them are the ones who do charity drives and stuff like that just to show off how much of a #good person they are, and to have others praise them for being a #good person. The ones we know who are helping are getting on and doing it. Odd picture or post, but certainly not what these people would be doing. When people get involved in and regulate other people's relationships, they try to act like they're helping, but they always make it worse. The workaholic. It's fine to work hard at something you love, but not at the expense of everything else. Toxic positivity. People who try to find the good in everything. There's a lot to be said for having a positive outlook, but it quickly becomes toxic when you start defending abusers. I'm sure your parents still loved you in their own way, or trivializing people's sadness, so you got fired. It just means you get to pursue a new opportunity. Sometimes the appropriate answer to a situation is to just acknowledge that things suck. Telling kids that they are so different than everyone else while implying that they are somehow better. The actual healthy thing to do is to stress that everyone is unique, and the kids' natural gifts make them who you are, just like other kids' gifts make them unique. Overstudying, overburdening, and excessive academic anxiety/self-doubt does not make for a dedicated pupil, but an unbalanced and miserable human being. Persistence in relationships. It's always sold in rom-coms and in relationships, but usually your persistence is a complete lack of respect for other people's boundaries or holding on to things that aren't working out. People who say this is just the way I am, if you can't handle that, oh well. No, you're wrong. I understand to an extent that if people don't like you for being yourself, they can go F themselves, but if you are a person who seriously does not know how to speak to people or are just rude in general, and claim that's just how I am, you're wrong. People need to know it is not okay to be rude or obnoxious, and that you should be able to know the difference of being yourself and just being a dick. Self-sacrifice. Sometimes sacrificing some of your time and energy is important, but you've got to remember that if someone or something is important to you, it doesn't mean you should cut pieces of yourself or burn yourself out for it. It goes double if you're caring for someone. If that something or someone is that important to you, you need to make sure that the support you're giving remains consistent and sustainable, and doesn't take you out. We often forget that in many cases, when you're caring for someone, that person's well-being is also tied to your well-being, and if your well-being suffers, that person you're caring for will suffer, too. And if they're worth caring for, they'll notice that you're suffering, and that won't be great for them, too. People saying they did stuff that directly affects us without our permission for looking after your best interests. People that say they're always 100% honest, and aren't afraid to speak their mind. It's definitely useful when needed, but all the time just makes the person seem insufferable and rude. Family comes first. I grew up thinking that I had a very close extended family until I realized just how lousy and miserable most of them were. I have cut them out, and feel so much better about it. People that do good deeds so they can brag about it or use it to their own advantage. Look at me, I'm such a good person. I do all these nice things, not because I wanted to be a good person or anything. No, just so I could tell everyone about all the good things I do. Repeatedly. Like all the time. Because I'm a good person, remember? Hey, by the way, could you do me a fave? Corporate passive-aggressive behavior. Yes, you're saying all the right things, and everything checks out if read back on a transcript. But you and I both know you've simply found a way to abuse the rules for your own gain. That kind of hustle culture where successful people give motivational speeches, or more often Instagram captions, where they say stuff like if you're not succeeding you're not working hard enough, or we all have the same 24 hours. We don't all have the same 24 hours. If you have kids, subtract a couple hours. If you have kids without a live-in nanny, subtract a bunch of hours. If you have to work a minimum wage job to make rent, subtract hours. If you don't have help to cook / clean / grocery shop / etc., subtract hours. That's part of why Kylie Jenner's whole self-made millionaire thing bugs me. Even if she came up with her own ideas, and did her portion of the work, she never had to worry about financial support to start her brand, or childcare while she was working, or who was going to cook meals for her and her kid or clean her house. Her lip fillers alone, which are a huge portion of her brand, can cost up to $2,000 a pop. You're not self-made if you couldn't have done it without your parents' money. Also, my first gold. Thank you so much. If you're willing to do something, you must be the best at it. Now how screwed up does that sound? Always being busy, and constantly working hard. I have family members that call me lazy because I've created a life that doesn't revolve around constant grinding, constantly being busy, getting up at the crack of dawn, always complaining about being tired, regularly talking about how there's just not enough time to do things they enjoy, all as if it's some badge of honor. Constant self-diminishing, and downplaying of your abilities is humility. Just accept, and recognize that you're pretty skilled, have a lot of experience in something, instead of saying that it's easy, that anyone could do the same, and the list goes on. Working for exposure. This one gets me because companies use it as an excuse to not pay someone or not pay them the amount they deserve. They claim exposure is your payment, but last I checked, exposure doesn't pay the bills. When you tell people about how you're feeling, to vent, or when they ask how you're doing in general, and they one-up you to make you feel like you don't get to feel tired or sad or stressed etc. cause they're clearly having it harder than you are. I was tired from school and work one day, and I told my old roommate that I was feeling a little tired, and he hits me with, "Oh, you're tired?" I only had 5 hours of sleep and I had to wake up early this morning cause I had PT. He's in ROTC. People who record themselves doing something nice for someone in need. I'm all for helping people, but the minute you bring your own camera crew it loses all meaning. Over-the-top kindness often masks agenda. Charisma goes a long way toward hiding darker traits. Constantly being so quick to call people toxic just because you had a fight or disagreement, and you don't like it. Obviously, if someone truly is abusive mentally or physically, then sure, I've cut a few people out of my life too. But the culture we have created has people cutting each other off over everything. No one learns loyalty, conflict resolution. No one is allowed to grow. Also, too many people have become too proud to acknowledge their wrongs, and say sorry when they need to. Everyone needs to relearn how to 1. Resolve conflict in a mature and rational way, 2. Forgive each other, and 3. Apologize for your own actions. Being offended on behalf of another person without knowing or wanting to know their opinion. Unwavering loyalty. No, sometimes people don't deserve it, and you shouldn't be ashamed to let them go. People that are always worried of you, but they are just expecting the moment you make a mistake or be under a bad situation so they can feel relieved their lives are better than yours. When I am around groups of people that are overtly positive, like a workout group or something, I get crazy annoyed. Not that I'm a proponent of negativity, but I am a proponent of moderation and balance. Without negativity in a strictly positive situation, there's no balance or check. And when it's amplified by a large group of people, it quickly becomes loud and obnoxious to me. It'd be the same case if you were around a group of people that were overtly negative. The lack of balance makes me so uncomfortable. Being the supportive friend / significant other who will never say no even if it's a really bad idea. Always saying what's in your mind. People who claim to have no filter are generally just rude. It's much more commendable to know when to shut up. Overprotectiveness. Not the general caring / protecting someone. But a lot of people seem to think it's so adorable when someone is super overprotective over someone else. I'm not weak. I can do things by myself just fine, thanks. Ensuring success. Don't tell your kids that they will do great things. Don't say that you will kill it. Give people reasonable expectations, and realize they are human. Like most things in life, an Oscar Wilde quote is relevant. Children begin by loving their parents. As they grow older they judge them. Sometimes they forgive them. "Kindly let me help you or you'll drown," said the monkey, safely putting the fish up a tree. Alan Watts. Aggressive self-care. Sometimes people use this as a hard stop to get out of things that they do not want to do, because you can't argue with someone saying that they need self-care. But there's a line between doing what you need to in order to bolster emotional and mental health, and being lazy/taking advantage of people who want to support self-care more. Helicopter parenting. That crap scars you, makes you unable to function like a normal adult, and struggle to make your own decisions when it comes to responsibility. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.